The date is set. The Premier League versus Manchester City. The day, or the weeks, months even, where there are 115 charges of potential corruption, cheating, circumventing the Premier League's profit and sustainability rules will be called into question. Many believe they could suffer with huge points deductions, relegations from the Premier League, trophies being stripped, and much, much more. We're going to delve into this in a little bit more detail today because, of course, there's fallout from the Everton situation. Why are Everton and Nottingham Forest being treated so differently to Manchester City and Chelsea as well? We're going to go through some of the things that have been said, but the date has been set. And we're going to go into this in much more detail, what this looks like, how it's going to progress. Make sure like buttons are hit. Make sure you are subscribing as well. But we're going to go over right now to Richard Masters, the CEO of the Premier League. Take a listen here to what he said.
But can you understand fans' frustration when Man City is taking so long? Meanwhile, Everton have had now two charges. Notts Forest yesterday charged.
I can, but they are very different charges. That's all I would say.
That's the Everton fan leaning in. Shouldn't laugh, but it made me tickle.
If any club, whether they're the current champions or otherwise, had been found in breach of the spending rules for full year 23, they would be in exactly the same position as Everton or Nottingham Forest. But the volume and character of the charges laid before Man City, which I obviously cannot talk about at all, are being heard in a completely different environment. There is a date set for that proceeding. Unfortunately, I can't tell you when that is, but that is progressing.
I'm so glad with this answer because I have become frustrated, perplexed, angered, vexed over the continual comparisons between Everton having a points deduction for spending too much money or losing too much money and the potential of Chelsea to have cheated the system, broke the rules, disregarded them flagrantly over a 10-year period or so. The charges, the potential ramifications are so different from each other. It is unbelievable. One is like a parking ticket and the other is like mass murder, if we're talking in criminal terms. They're not even comparable in any way, shape, or form. But we now know a date has been set for Man City. When they have their day, we keep saying in court, but essentially it's going to be a like a sort of a hearing. We're going to find out the evidence against them. We're going to hear their rebuttals. We're going to finally see whether they have been breaking these rules or not. And then at the end of that, if they're guilty, depending to what degree, a punishment would be issued. And I'll say this now to Everton fans, Forest fans, and anyone wondering. If all 115 charges are proven, they will be getting considerably more than a 10-point deduction. There's no doubt about it whatsoever. But these types of questions don't help. I think they're MPs at question here. Crazy question, but I get why it's being answered. The media's got to do a better job at educating people. You do see it, but it gets disregarded too easy. It was here on TalkSport today. Take a listen.
The question here to me is, why are the Premier League able to bare their teeth with some clubs, whilst others are able to kick the can down the road? And I'm talking about Chelsea spending $1 billion in a year. I'm talking about Manchester City.
Yeah, but Chelsea haven't been charged with anything.
No.
So Chelsea are not part of the conversation right now. And when they produce accounts which produce those problems, and then the Premier League will take a view. Sure. Manchester City's scenario is completely different, whether I like it or I don't. And I certainly think they have something to answer to. Their charges and their processes and what they're being alleged to have done is very different from straightforward accountancy principles over a 3-year cycle.
That's it. This is what we need to hear from the Gary Nevilles, the Jamie Carragers, the Rio Ferdinands. Every single time this comes up on Sky, on BT, on the BBC, ITV, TalkSport, that needs to be the answer. And if you don't have the answers on your panels, hire better people, educate your people, whatever it may be. Because the way we're sort of allowing this comparison to go ahead is crazy. One, Everton haven't done anything nearly as bad as what City are accused of. Equally, the richer clubs are not being given a way out. Their lawyers are not dragging it on longer because they have more money. They're different scenarios. So well done there to Simon Jordan for calling that out. It's very, very important indeed to remember that. City are facing the potential expulsion from the league, mass relegations, gargantuan points deductions like we have never seen in the modern day era of football, potentially even their trophy stripped away from them. Very different indeed. We need to stop comparing the two things. Honestly, it's like comparing an apple to a lump of kryptonite. They're just not the same thing in any capacity at all.
You said something there about the penalising fans. As I said, the best thing for everybody is for clubs to stay within the rules. You also said that you didn't think the rules were clear to fans, and I think they are clear. They've been in place for 10 years, and people understand that.
But the Everton criterion is far from transparent, isn't it? How they've been deducted so many points.
Okay, so
it's not
so
Firstly, I wanted to play this bit because, again, I see everyone kind of defending Everton, defending Forest. I don't understand it. If you don't like FFP or profit and sustainability, I get it. But all the clubs have signed up to it. I know it's, the fans are being punished. Blame their club. You cannot blame the Premier League for Everton breaking these rules. We all know what the rules are. Now, if you're a fan that's never read the rules, fair enough. Your club should be explaining it to you. But instead of clubs saying, you know what, we messed up, we spent too much, we did these things wrong, this is why we've been fined, they're sort of basically throwing it back at the Premier League saying, no one understands. Your club does. Your club should be explaining it to you. 110%.
So on that particular issue of the Premier League's approach to sanctioning, whether it be a rule breach for squad costs, for PSR rules or other rules, we have an open sanctioning regime, and that's an active decision to leave it to the independent panel to decide, because it gives them maximum flexibility to decide in the circumstances, having listened to all the mitigating arguments made by them.
And that makes absolute sense. So yes, there is no clear, transparent, if you're over by 10 million, you will be sanctioned 3 points. If you're over by 20 million, it'll be 6 points. It's open to interpretation because Forest and Everton's cases, even though they've been charged for the same thing, could be different. When the independent panel hears the arguments for and against, they'll dictate what the punishment will be. It's the same in any area of life, whether it's being suspended from school, sent to prison, or fined. Mitigating circumstances matter. So there's never going to be a rigid matrix for this amount of pounds equals this amount of points. Again, very clear and obvious. It's down to the clubs to start explaining this to their fans instead of riling them up to make them feel like they've been mistreated, because they haven't been. Whether you're Man City or potentially Chelsea, whether you're Everton or Nottingham Forest, you're not being mistreated. Your club are doing things wrong. Why are you blaming the Premier League for enacting rules that your club have signed up to and then flagrantly disregarded?
Understanding of the rules. The difference now is the rules have teeth. And what's happening now is people are starting to cry because the consequences of ignoring or not taking the rules as seriously as perhaps they should do, or the fact that the governance in football historically has been not strong enough or not as adept at finding solutions to the problems that the rule book says they've got to deal with, is now coming home. It's like the expression that Malcolm X used with John F. Kennedy, the chickens are coming home to roost. You were told, you knew, you signed up to, you've got to run your football clubs this way, and you choose not to. Now, there might be lots of reasons. The one issue where I have great sympathy for Everton on is the sanction. Not the sanction, not the fact they've been sanctioned, the quantum of it. Their argument now is that hang on, the rules that we know that we've accepted and signed up to and were voting for, we don't like it now because it's actually sanctioned us. And we don't like being sanctioned twice because we don't think that the financial mechanisms that are underpinning financial fair play, which is a rolling 3-year cycle of being allowed to lose 105 million, they're saying we're being judged twice. Well, you're not. What's happened is that you were, and by the way, this idea that they've been sanctioned and that they've only been sanctioned on the basis of 9 million quid and that it's unfair. You do realise that Everton, this was not a surprise to Everton, they were in special measures For years, the Premier League were talking to them about their behaviour and regulating their transfers for years before they sanctioned Everton and put them into the dock and charged them with the breach of financial fair play that resulted in a 10-point penalty.
Absolutely spot on. And this is, I have sympathy for the fans that their club has put them through this. Where I disagree is that the Premier League are putting them through this. If my children have to cope without me because I break the law, that isn't on the police that arrested me or the judge that sends me to prison. That's on me. I've taken myself away from my children. If you're at work and you break the rules and commit gross misconduct and lose your job, let's say your employer is Joe Bloggs Limited. Joe Bloggs Limited are now not stopping you from feeding your children and paying your mortgage. You have broken the rules. You have done it. Where is the accountability here? Now, I understand people don't like FFP rules. They don't like profit and sustainability, but you've signed up to operate within them. And as Simon Jordan pointed out, the way Everton have been run, that should be where the anger is. And it's getting ignored. And everyone's going at the Premier League. It's very, very strange to me. They're using Man City as a deflection. Man City are going to be taken care of. And if they're guilty, they will be punished hugely. Chelsea will also face huge consequences if they have cheated. But Chelsea and City potentially cheating is not an excuse for your club to flagrantly disregard the rules. The Premier League growing teeth and you being the first ones to experience its bite is not a get out when it comes to the laws of the game not being adhered to. And if my club, Man United, faces this next, you will not see me defending my club and attacking the Premier League. You will see me attacking how poorly run we are as a club. The lack of accountability stinks. The deflection tactics are an absolute abomination. We've got the date, we haven't been told the date, but the date is now set for Man City's case to be heard. We know what they're facing. That's big news for us. But come on now, wake up and smell the coffee. They're not the same situations at all. Just the same as saying net spend is real. We all know it isn't. So stop it. Hit the like button, subscribe, and we'll see you all again soon.